Ladies and gentlemen, do you like your anime the way it is? Do you like your husbandos and waifus to be the way that they are right now? Well, prepare yourself because Sony is now starting to think of taking things to more global heights. Because get ready, it's starting to sound real bad. Hey, what is going on, everybody? How are you all doing today? I hope you all are having a wonderful and fantastic day today, and if not, hopefully you all will have it better tomorrow. As everyone knows, Sony has been really trying to become a big influencer when it comes to anime in the West, and now this article has come out, and we're going to take a look at it and a couple of other articles here because Sony themselves, well, they want to take everything more global, and that doesn't look good. And we're also going to look back at this old article for a brief moment, as well as this article, because there's some key points to really take a look back at with them. And, when you look at the Japanese market for anime, right? When you look at that, they can tell whatever story they want to tell. This is a good thing because, Japan has their own freedom to be able to create whatever they want and freely express themselves however they want. Now, of course, that's definitely a different scenario when it comes to the West, because how is the West going to treat things like, for example, a story like Redo of Healer? Oh, that would never happen. You better believe that would never happen in the West. They would never allow something like that to occur because it doesn't fit their standards, But when you look at Japan, right, they don't have these limitations on storytelling because, they don't have to go by whatever political checkboxes that the Western studios do. But if things become more global with Sony, well, that's something to worry about. So let's take a look at this article. Japan's anime goes global, Sony's new weapon to take on Netflix. Now, this is a very long article, but I want to really look at the most important details of it because while it's a very good article in itself, this is the most important part. This is the bread and the butter. The list of the world's 25 most valuable media franchises are topped by two Japanese giants, Pokemon and Hello Kitty, with respective all-time sales of $92 billion and $80 billion, and include 9 other Japanese names. But behind that success, say analysts, has been a tendency to underexploit the anime gold mine and a failure to address the many structural problems and heavily criticized labor practices that are hidden behind the popular titles. Key sectors in Japan's animation industry. Now, when looking at this chart here, because this chart is actually very important in terms of what we're talking about here, you'll see where the biggest amount of money is coming from, and you'll see what Sony's plan is going forward, because this article really goes into that. So, if you look at where the money mostly is coming from, well, it's coming from overseas. 48, overseas, 48%. That is a big amount. And when you look at that and you look at Sony's plan, because, Sony themselves, they've basically been trying to really be a dominant force when it comes to anime in the West, especially with them buying Crunchyroll from AT&T and Warner Media. That only allows them to have more to their library with them already having Funimation as well as Aniplex. So that's already a problem because look at Sony, look at what they do with games, right? Anime games, for example, well, what they do with that is they censor any female character if she doesn't look like she's from the 40s. But, when it comes to video games like The Last of Us Part 2 and the Naughty Dog situation, with all that, oh yeah, well get ready because they'll try to make sure that the waifus look like pro golfer Abby. And, which that's not going to be a good sign because that means that they are going to completely change how you know anime. And with them having this much influence, well, it's a dangerous thing for anime going forward because making it go global, with Sony at the helm, yeah, that's a disaster in the making because, as we already know, Sony, well, they own Funimation. And Funimation in the past has talked about some things in terms of, being a part of an anime committee, which we're going to look back at in just a moment, which we're also going to look further into this article because this article actually goes into that at the very end of it. And I mean, it's not looking good if things go with Sony, having more influence. Because, we've seen Sony already have influence in the past. It's not like this is new, but with them having more influence and control and seeing that they're in California now, that's where they're stationed. They're no longer stationed in Japan. That is very worrisome. They're stationed in California where the snake's den is. That's the actual problem. Because what that means is that if they were to have that much influence, because they already have a ton of influence, to have that influence, well, that means that they'll start telling Japan how they can and can't make anime, which, we already know that they plan to do this by being on the committees, like with Funimation, what they talked about, which this part of the article kind of goes into right here, which is an issue. We've known for a long time that Japanese IP resonates throughout Asia, but I think it's becoming more and more clear the degree to which these IPs can really work wonders in terms of sales of digital content and merchandise, says CLSA analyst J. DeFab. I don't know, I definitely butchered that. Citing the ways in which IP owned by Japanese toy and games groups like Konami and Bandai Namco have scored resounding recent success in China. And then the article goes on to state this: for Toei and other large anime studios leading the industry as a whole, overseas revenues are poised to overtake domestic for the first time. Global ambitions, with a particular focus on the growth potential in China and Asia, are underpinned by a rising sophistication among Japanese anime executives. The investment and development consortium behind Demon Slayer involved only 3 companies, a striking contrast with the larger, more conservative, and more unwieldy 10 to 12 strong consortiums that would traditionally have been drawn up. It is difficult to operate a business solely in Japan anymore, says Production IG's Mr. Wada. Instead of a 2-stage process where we deliver titles that were hits in Japan to the rest of the world, we must now focus on content that will resonate not only in Japan but internationally. Now, see, here's the thing. They're noticing that it's very big all around the world, that anime is. Japan's noticed this. They realize this. But here is where the fear comes in. Because while they're noticing this, which is a good thing, that animes become more profitable for them because, they want to stretch it out and they want to make more money. I mean, they realize that anime is profitable beyond just the anime itself. I mean, this is how they combated with piracy, so that, the merchandise, for example, people would watch anime, they'd enjoy the merchandise, and then they'd buy it. And that's how they knew that they could get more money, because of the merchandise. That's how they fought piracy in the past. Now, of course, there's that new law, but you get my point. My point is that the way that they fought piracy was by the merchandise. Now, the thing that could be the problem here is Sony, because Sony has such a big influence in the West. That they're going to try to push their values onto Japan this way, because with them already jumping on board to anime committees, for example, you better believe that they'll try to change things. I mean, many people, myself included, have talked about this fear of what could happen and how they could try to take control. They could try to say, hey, this is what you can and can't do. I mean, look at this article from Funimation. I know I go back to this a lot, but this is my point here, is that Funimation came out with this article saying, what does it mean to be on an anime production committee? Well, the worrisome thing is that they can tell them what is and is not acceptable and what stories they can and can't tell. That's the fearsome thing that this can lead to. For example, this paragraph. Instead of simply licensing the rights to a finished show, as companies usually do, Funimation is now able to take part ownership of some titles directly when bringing them to the rest of the world. There's no fear about losing the rights to their shows either. They are here to stay in the Funimation library in perpetuity. Conversely, Funimation is trusted by the rest of the committee to use their international expertise to better market the show for foreign viewers and provide more detailed input to the other Japanese companies regarding what fans abroad would like to see. It's a win-win. Which that's not a win-win, because people like anime the way it is. They don't want it to be changed to fit someone's standards, which will only end badly, because, thing is that this is what they do. You see, if they can't get the culture of a country to change, like, they can't get Japan to change, right? They can't get them to bend the knee. Well, what are they going to do? They're going to come in there. They're going to come in with their influence, and they're going to say, well, this chick, her breasts are too big. You can't do that. You're showing off too much of our body. You got to close that up, make her look like, someone from the 1940s. They're going to do that. And, then they're going to be like, well, what do you mean? This doesn't work this way. And then, of course, well, it's going to be money. Then they're going to just reel in the money and be like, well, if you do it, we'll give you this. See, they'll pay them to, lose their creativity the way they want it to be. And they'll tell them how they can and can't do something. You see, that's the problem. That's the thing that's very worrisome, is that they'll try to change things to be the way they want it to be. And that's what Funimation stated right here, is that they're going to change things for foreign viewers. And they'll use money to make it happen. I mean, that's what they'll do. And here goes Crunchyroll as well. Crunchyroll's Joanne Wage says anime is still growing in Intel markets. And this is what was stated with that conversation, was the discussion moved to anime's original source, Japan, where change is also afoot, with animation producers and distributors moving away from a sole local focus and a reliance on physical media for profits. The audience outside Japan has become more visible, and they've had to take that into account, Wage said. The co-production partners have to be receptive to input, she said. There are simple things that, added or removed, can maximize the audience in a given territory. She added that Crunchyroll is uniquely positioned to help Japanese partners through cultural minefields abroad. We have 150 marketing people across the globe with an intimate knowledge of their local markets. Hollywood studios can't do what we do. This is not a fad, Wage said. Anime is going to keep growing, and Japan will continue to be the center of it. I mean, it'll keep growing if you keep your politics out of it. I mean, if you try to change things, try to make it culturally appropriate, well, then, of course, it's going to get worse. It won't get better. If Japan continues to be able to freely do it however they've been wanting to do it, then yeah, it's going to continue to grow. But if Sony, seeing how censor happy they are, if they get their hands on that and get full influence, then yeah, you better believe that anime is going to be made for the worse and not for the better. I mean, that's the fear, is that with Sony getting so much influence, well, that would allow them to completely be able to dictate what Japan can and can't do with anime, which that's the thing that's worrisome. And like I said, to make things work, they'll flash as much money to Japan as they need to so that they can make Japan, do what they want them to do. Because if they can't get them to change, if they can't get them to bend the knee, then they're going to give them money to make alterations, to make changes, which is not good. And like I said, you don't need to fix anime because anime's fine the way it is. But leave it to Sony to want to soy coat anything that they can and then try to ruin it. Because, if Sony gets control, well then you better believe that anime is going to go from being something that's great that people enjoy to being terrible. Because Sony will ruin it with trying to make all the waifus Abby and then trying to make entertainment that was fun and try to dictate what can and can't be made. I mean, that's what's so terrifying about this whole thing, is that they'll take a good thing and ruin it. And the thing about Japan is that they have their own freedom to be able to create whatever they want to create. But, if Sony gets control, well, then you better believe that, well, at that point, they're going to take what was good entertainment and just destroy it. And, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be something that would gradually happen over time. But, it doesn't look good. I mean, hopefully Japan, they're fighting to keep their freedom of expression and creativity. They're going to their government about that. Hopefully they will stand firm. Hopefully they won't fall to Sony and, let Sony tell them what they can and can't do with creativity. Hopefully Japan will know that. Hopefully Japan will stay strong and fight back. Because if they want to freely be able to create what they want, then they're going to have to not listen to what Sony tries to tell them. But anyways, let me know what you think about this entire situation down below. Subscribe to the channel if you were new here, and make sure you were still subscribed, because YouTube is unsubscribing people from all their favorite channels. So make sure you were still subscribed to all your favorite channels. Hit the video with a like, and also be sure to share the video on social media. Spread the word and get it out there. It's greatly appreciated, and it really helps out the channel a lot. Also, be sure to follow me on Discord. We have a wonderful community there. Not only that, but it will keep you up to date on when the newest videos will be released, as well as any other upcoming events in the near future. So be sure to follow me on Discord. The link is in the description down below. But anyways, I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful and fantastic day today. And remember, if today was not a good day, tomorrow could always be better. Take care of yourselves and everyone around you. And have yourselves a good one out there, everybody.